In the beginning, there was chaos. From chaos came order. From order, the gods of Olympus rose. At their throne stood Zeus, king of the skies. His voice was thunder, his gaze was lightning. To mortals, he was strength without limit. To gods, he was power beyond challenge. But even Zeus could not command everything. Some mysteries live beyond the reach of thunder. They say beneath the earth lies a labyrinth, not carved by hands, but shaped by time itself. No weapon strikes true there. No crown holds sway. Only echoes, mirrors, and choices remain. A place where fate whispers. A place where truth hides in silence, waiting to be found. And so, our story begins. Not of conquest, not of battle, but of a journey inward. Here, Zeus walks not as thunder made flesh. He walks as a seeker, humbled by the unknown. Listen closely, for this path belongs to gods and mortals alike. This is the tale of time Zeus and the Labyrinth of Fate asterisk. They say every journey begins, not with thunder, not with lightning, but with a whisper. This story began with a whisper carried on the wind, high upon the peaks of Olympus. Zeus, ruler of the skies, sat upon his throne of storm clouds. His gaze stretched over seas and mountains, searching for disturbances in the order of the world. For centuries, he had commanded the heavens, his thunderbolts striking fear into those who defied Olympus. To mortals, he was power itself. To the gods, he was the unshakable pillar of rule. But this day was different. Something unfamiliar stirred the stillness of eternity. It began faintly, like the rustle of silk threads, a sound that did not belong to thunder or wind. The whisper wound its way into his thoughts, soft yet persistent. It was the voice of the Moirai, the three fates, whose weaving hands spun destinies beyond the will of any god. The words were simple yet heavy. Asterisk. Seek the labyrinth. At its heart lies that which you cannot command. Asterisk. Zeus stiffened. What could lie beyond his command? He had bent storms to his will, hurled down giants, and brought order from chaos. What power could exist beyond his reach? The whisper did not answer. It faded like smoke, leaving only its warning. For the first time in countless ages, Zeus felt curiosity and perhaps unease. He rose from his throne, and the skies trembled with their king's disquiet. Whispers spread fast on Olympus. Hera noticed the furrow in his brow. Hermes caught the flicker of thought in his father's eyes. Athena, wise as ever, sensed that destiny itself had knocked upon Zeus's door. Yet Zeus told no one. Not yet. He needed to think. He needed to listen. For the Moirai never spoke without purpose. Their words never fell idly upon the air. That night, the stars shone like silver sparks against a velvet sky. Zeus stood alone on the mountain's edge. The constellations shifted slightly, rearranging themselves into unseen patterns. The wind carried fragments of the whisper, teasing his thoughts, pulling him toward the earth below. Zeus closed his eyes. He had believed himself master of choice, the one who shaped outcomes with lightning. But the whisper reminded him, even gods are bound to threads they cannot cut. A seed of wonder was planted, a call to step away from the throne, away from power into the unknown. The labyrinth of fate waited, patient and silent, holding secrets untouched by thunder. Zeus did not yet know what trials lay ahead, or what truths he would uncover. He only knew the whisper could not be ignored, for if destiny itself summoned him, then the journey was already written in the stars. The sky, once calm, began to stir. The heavens had always mirrored Zeus's will, but now they shifted with a rhythm not his own. The stars bent ever so slightly, like dancers following a hidden song. From the highest peaks, Zeus saw clouds forming without his command. They swirled in strange spirals, weaving shapes that resembled tangled threads. It was as though the sky itself carried the mark of the fates. He raised his hand to summon lightning, but the bolt came late, slower than his call. Never before had the storm questioned him. Never before had thunder refused to bow. On Olympus, the gods began to murmur. Hera approached him with quiet caution. "Zeus," she said, "the heavens are restless. What troubles them troubles you. But Zeus shook his head. The whisper of prophecy remained his alone. Night after night, the signs grew stronger. The moon dimmed at odd hours. Stars flickered out, then returned as though they had never left. Comets streaked without warning, leaving trails like broken threads unraveling. Mortals below noticed. Farmers spoke of strange weather, sailors of shifting winds, and sudden waves. Priests lit fires in temples, pleading for answers. Olympus remained silent, and still, Zeus felt the pull of something vast, something unseen. He walked the marble halls at night, his steps echoing in the cold stone silence. Torches flickered strangely as he passed, flames bending toward him, urging him onward. One evening, Hermes appeared. Quick-footed, curious, he asked, "Father, what message do the heavens carry?" Zeus studied his son, but offered no reply. Hermes searched his father's eyes, but silence was all he found. For how could Zeus explain a prophecy he did not yet understand? Hermes left unsatisfied, his wings carrying him back into the restless night. Yet the question lingered. What message did the heavens carry? Zeus stood upon the cliff's edge where Olympus touched the sky. Lightning flashed across the horizon, but its light was cold, unfamiliar. The storm no longer felt like his own. For the first time, he wondered if he was not the master of the sky, but only its guest. His hand tightened on the scepter. Power was his birthright, yet perhaps power was not enough. Perhaps there were truths deeper than thunder, older than Olympus itself. The whisper of the fates returned. Asterisk. Seek the labyrinth. Asterisk. He could almost hear it in the wind, weaving itself through the storm. A labyrinth hidden beneath the earth, untouched by god or mortal. A place where power could not command, where even thunder fell silent. The tangled clouds and restless stars were not chaos. They were a summons. The heavens themselves were guiding him downward. The skies were no longer his mirror. They were his map. And so Zeus knew. The journey had begun. The restless sky was not defiance. It was destiny, whispering through the stars, calling him to the labyrinth of fate. Olympus had known many councils, wars declared, oaths sworn, feasts celebrated. But on this day, the air was heavier, filled with questions unspoken. The sky outside had not calmed. Stars shifted strangely. Winds whispered like restless voices. Zeus, ruler of the heavens, could no longer remain silent. He summoned the gods to the great hall of Olympus, its pillars carved with the stories of creation. Hera arrived regal, Athena wise, Poseidon bearing the salt of the sea, Hermes quick-footed and restless. When murmurs settled, Zeus stood. His voice, usually thundering, carried rare gravity. "The sky is changing," he said. "The storms hesitate, the winds defy command. These are not accidents, they are warnings." The hall grew still. Never had Zeus admitted to uncertainty. Hera spoke first, sharp and protective. "You are lord of the skies. Do not let whispers weaken Olympus." Zeus did not answer at once. The Moirai had spoken. But should he reveal it? Athena stepped forward. "We should not dismiss this. If the signs bend against patterns, something greater than storms is at work." Poseidon rumbled like distant surf. "The seas too are restless. If the heavens change, so do the waters." Hermes tilted his head. "Then what is the message? What do the skies wish to say?" Zeus's eyes darkened, his voice lowered. "The Moirai have spoken." The words struck like lightning. Even the bravest gods fell silent. Hera's voice wavered. "What did they say?" "They spoke of a labyrinth," Zeus replied. "A place beneath the earth. At its heart lies that which I cannot command." A shiver moved through the hall. Something beyond Zeus's command meant no god could claim certainty. Athena's eyes sharpened. "A labyrinth older than Olympus. If the fates summon you, then this is a thread already woven." Hera shook her head. "You cannot leave Olympus chasing riddles. The world depends on your strength." Zeus answered firmly. "What of order if I ignore destiny? If the sky rebels, ruling means nothing." The silence that followed was deep. Even the torches flickered, as if bending in agreement. Hermes broke it softly. "Then you will go. into this labyrinth. Yes, Zeus replied, not as conqueror, not as ruler, but as seeker. The gods looked upon their king with unease. To see Zeus speak of seeking unsettled them, but none dared oppose him. They too had felt the restless sky. And so the council ended. No feasts, no songs, only silence and the knowledge that a journey had begun. For when the fates whispered, Olympus listened. And when the sky trembled, even gods knew destiny had spoken. The journey began where the earth opened in silence. Zeus, though lord of the skies, now stood before a place far older than his throne. The entrance to the labyrinth lay beneath a mountain mortals avoided. No temple marked it. The air was heavy with secrets too ancient for prayer. The Moirai had spoken of this place. A labyrinth, not shaped by mortal hands, but woven by time, shadow, and fate itself. Its passages followed, not stone alone, but threads unseen. To enter was to walk directly into prophecy. As Zeus approached, the sky darkened. Clouds gathered, yet no storm formed. The air itself seemed alive, aware of his presence. His footsteps echoed across the rock. He carried no weapon, no lightning, only resolve. The entrance was vast, carved with spirals and knots that seemed to shift when watched too long. Symbols whispered in languages older than Titans. Zeus touched the stone. It was warm beneath his hand, beating like a heart. He stepped inside. Light faded. Corridors stretched endlessly, twisting into shadow. The walls glimmered with constellations shifting as he moved. Stars flickered across the stone, rearranging into patterns not of the night sky, but of his own journey. Whispers rose. At first faint, like wind, then clearer, weaving impressions and echoes of choices made. Zeus heard storms unleashed, thrones claimed, promises both kept and broken. The labyrinth was mirror, memory, and trial. This is not a place for rulers, the whispers seemed to say. This is a place for seekers. He pressed forward. The path split into three. To the left, the air smelled of sea. To the right, it pulsed with heat. Straight ahead, silence. Zeus closed his eyes and listened. For the first time in ages, he did not command, he waited. A faint rhythm rose from the silence. A heartbeat, steady and patient. It called him forward. He followed. The silence deepened. The walls glowed faintly with threads of silver woven into stone. Patterns shifted into faces, mortals, gods, shadows without names. Each vanished as he passed. A vast chamber opened. The ceiling disappeared into darkness. At the center lay a pool, still as glass. Zeus approached. The whispers hushed. He looked into the pool and saw his reflection. Then it changed. A throne cracked. A crown fell. Stars rearranged into unfamiliar shapes. He saw himself walking paths that ended not in victory, but in surrender. The labyrinth showed possibilities, threads of fate not yet chosen. Zeus's voice echoed low across the chamber. If this is destiny, then tell me, what must I seek? The water rippled. From its surface rose silver light, coiling upward like a thread. It formed a single word, not spoken but understood. Truth. The chamber stilled. The weight of that single word pressed heavier than any crown. Truth. Not conquest. Not command. Truth. Zeus turned from the pool, the path ahead clearer, though no less uncertain. To find truth within the labyrinth meant to face not only its halls, but himself. Deeper still, the whispers waited. Softer now. Patient. Certain. The labyrinth had only begun its tale. The journey began where the earth opened in silence. Zeus, though lord of the skies, now stood before a place far older than his throne. The entrance to the labyrinth lay beneath a mountain mortals avoided. No temple marked it. The air was heavy with secrets, too ancient for prayer. The Moirai had spoken of this place. A labyrinth, not shaped by mortal hands, but woven by time, shadow, and fate itself. Its passages followed not stone alone, but threads unseen. To enter was to walk directly into prophecy. As Zeus approached, the sky darkened. Clouds gathered, yet no storm formed. The air itself seemed alive, aware of his presence. His footsteps echoed across the rock. He carried no weapon, no lightning, only resolve. The entrance was vast, carved with spirals and knots that seemed to shift when watched too long. Symbols whispered in languages older than Titans. Zeus touched the stone. It was warm beneath his hand, beating like a heart. He stepped inside. Light faded. Corridors stretched endlessly, twisting into shadow. The walls glimmered with constellations shifting as he moved. Stars flickered across the stone, rearranging into patterns not of the night sky, but of his own journey. Whispers rose, at first faint, like wind, then clearer, weaving impressions and echoes of choices made. Zeus heard storms unleashed, thrones claimed, promises both kept and broken. The labyrinth was mirror, memory, and trial. "This is not a place for rulers," the whispers seemed to say. "This is a place for seekers." He pressed forward. The path split into three. To the left, the air smelled of sea. To the right, it pulsed with heat. Straight ahead, silence. Zeus closed his eyes and listened. For the first time in ages, he did not command, he waited. A faint rhythm rose from the silence. A heartbeat, steady and patient. It called him forward. He followed. The silence deepened. The walls glowed faintly with threads of silver woven into stone. Patterns shifted into faces, mortals, gods, shadows, without names. Each vanished as he passed. A vast chamber opened. The ceiling disappeared into darkness. At the center lay a pool, still as glass. Zeus approached. The whispers hushed. He looked into the pool and saw his reflection. Then it changed. A throne cracked. A crown fell. Stars rearranged into unfamiliar shapes. He saw himself walking paths that ended not in victory, but in surrender. The labyrinth showed possibilities, threads of fate not yet chosen. Zeus's voice echoed low across the chamber. "If this is destiny, then tell me, what must I seek?" The water rippled. From its surface rose silver light, coiling upward like a thread. It formed a single word, not spoken but understood. Truth. The chamber stilled. The weight of that single word pressed heavier than any crown. Truth. Not conquest. Not command. Truth. Zeus turned from the pool. The path ahead clearer, though no less uncertain. To find truth within the labyrinth meant to face not only its halls, but himself. Deeper still, the whispers waited. Softer now. Patient. Certain. The labyrinth had only begun its tale. The path narrowed, walls pressing close, and the air grew damp against Zeus's skin. A sound rose ahead, soft and steady, the trickle of water, like time itself flowing. The corridor opened into a cavern, vast and dim, lit by threads of pale blue light. At its center flowed a river, silent and shimmering, like liquid glass. This was no ordinary stream. Its surface held memories, not reflections. Zeus stepped closer. In the current, he saw himself as a child, hidden in a cave. He saw the eagle that fed him. He heard his mother's desperate prayers. The water rippled again. He saw battles, alliances, oaths sworn and broken. Lightning raised against Cronus. Mortal faces trembling at storms, he commanded. The river spoke without words. Its current pressed against his spirit. "What do you carry, Zeus?" It seemed to whisper. He reached into the stream. Memories surged stronger, heavier than stone. Hera's eyes, sharp with both judgment and love. Athena's birth from his mind. Prometheus chained upon rock, punished for gifting fire to mortals. Zeus's breath grew heavy. "I carry victories. I carry mistakes. I carry Olympus." The river quickened. New visions appeared, faces of countless mortals. Farmers praying for rain, sailors cursing storms, children laughing under clear skies. Their voices rose, not in worship, but in longing. "Do they carry you, or do you carry them?" the river asked. Zeus trembled. He had thought himself protector, ruler, distant above. But here, their lives ran through him, like threads woven into his own. The current grew swifter. A vision struck him like thunder. Mortals lost beneath a broken sky. Gods divided. Thrones in ruins. Zeus reached forward, desperate to hold the image steady, but the river pulled it away. "You cannot hold the future," it whispered. "You can only choose in the present." Zeus rose slowly, staring at his reflection in the stream. He no longer saw the King of Thunder. He saw a man bound by choices. A man burdened not by storm, but by truth. He drew in a deep breath. "Then I will carry what is mine, not as crown, not as chain, but as truth." The waters calmed. The current parted, revealing a bridge of stone. Zeus stepped upon it. Each footfall echoed like thunder without storm. He crossed with resolve, the river murmuring softly below. On the far side, the passage narrowed once more into silence. The air felt lighter, though the weight inside him remained. He had faced memory, seen what he carried, and embraced its truth. Behind him, the river flowed on, endless, binding gods and mortals together. Before him, the labyrinth waited, silent and vast. For truth here was not treasure to be claimed. It was a burden to be borne. And Zeus, king of skies, now carried it more fully than ever before. The path curved downward, stones softening into soil beneath Zeus's feet. The air shifted, no longer damp with memory, but alive with warm, sweet fragrance. A garden stretched before him, hidden in the labyrinth, blooming in impossible colors. Trees arched high, leaves silvered by unseen light. Flowers glowed faintly, humming like voices. Each leaf seemed alive with whispers. Each blossom pulsed, as though holding memory. As Zeus walked, the voices stirred, rising like wind, circling him in echoes. "Zeus," they whispered, "child of prophecy, ruler of storm, do you hear us?" He paused, the sound pressing close. "I hear you. What are you?" The garden breathed around him. The voices answered as one. "We are echoes of choices, the memories of gods and mortals who came before." Zeus moved among glowing trees, their bark etched with faces of kings and seekers. "What do you seek from me?" he asked, his voice low and steady. The voices rustled through branches. "Not what we seek, what you choose. Storms command, but storms cannot reveal truth. Only listening can." Zeus stood silent. For ages he had ruled with thunder, but here silence reigned. The voices softened. A single echo rose clearer than the rest. "Father." Zeus froze. A child's voice, tender and piercing, called to him from the garden. A flower opened. From its glow rose the image of a boy, woven from light. "Why did you forget us, Father?" the child's voice asked. Zeus reached forward, hand trembling. "I bore Olympus so you would not suffer." The voice pressed again. "But did you hold us? Or only the crown?" The vision dissolved into drifting petals, leaving Zeus alone among trees. The chorus rose once more. Voices of gods, mortals, children, all weaving together. They spoke of choices unfinished, bonds broken, truths overlooked. The garden did not accuse. It revealed. Every voice was a mirror of cost. Zeus stood still. He did not command. For the first time, he listened. Silence fell. Only one tree remained lit before him, tall and marked with names. Its roots twisted deep, binding everything together beneath the soil. The tree's voice was deep. "Truth is not in thunder, not in crowns. Truth lives in the echoes you choose to remember." Zeus placed his hand upon its bark. The tree pulsed with silver light. A path opened between its roots, glowing with fire that beckoned him forward. The voices whispered, "Walk forward, bearer of storm. Listen, and you will see." Zeus stepped into the glowing path, leaving the garden of echoes behind. Yet the voices followed, not as burden, but as reminder. For truth was not only within himself, but in every soul he had touched. The passage closed behind him. Ahead, the labyrinth deepened into shadow. Another trial awaited. The passage narrowed, its walls glowing faintly, as if stitched by unseen hands. The silence carried a rhythm, soft and steady, like the pull of a loom. Zeus followed the sound until the corridor opened into a vast hall. Threads of light stretched from floor to ceiling, endless and shimmering. They hummed softly, alive with the weight of time itself. Zeus realized they were strands of time, woven into patterns beyond mortal sight. 3 figures appeared among the threads, cloaked in shadow, yet clear in presence. Their forms shifted old and young, stern and kind all at once. A single voice woven from 3 spoke. "Welcome, Zeus. You meet the weavers." Zeus bowed slightly, not from fear, but recognition. The Moirai. The threads pulsed at their name, alive with power. One voice spun gently. "We begin." Another declared, "We measure." The last whispered, "We end." Zeus's gaze fell upon countless lives glowing in the weave. "And mine?" he asked. The weavers touched a thread, brighter than the rest. "Strong," they said, "but bound." "Then why am I here?" Zeus demanded. "What truth must I face?" The threads glowed brighter. "Truth not for you alone, but for all who live." The eldest weaver lifted her hand, and visions danced across the strands. Zeus saw storms, fire stolen by Prometheus, and mortals building cities. He saw Olympus crumble, gods fading into memory, mortals standing alone. "This is their fate?" Zeus asked. "No," said the Moirai. "It is one path. Choice strengthens one thread over another." Zeus reached toward the glowing strands, trembling. Futures shimmered in his grasp. "If I choose, if I pull one thread, could I change it all?" "A king does not cut the cloth," they replied. "He shapes by living. To walk with truth is to honor the weave, not command it." Zeus lowered his hand, the vastness of fate clear before him. He felt not chains, but harmony, woven wider than one god could rule. "Then my place is not to command," he said, "but to honor it." The strands glowed brighter, parting to reveal a new path ahead. The Moirai's voices followed. "Walk on, bearer of storm. Each choice is yours." Zeus stepped forward, the hum of the loom fading into silence. He carried not just thunder, but the understanding that choice itself shapes destiny. The path curved downward, cool and damp, as Zeus walked slowly. A murmur of flowing water drifted through the stone. The cavern opened wide, bathed in pale silver light. A river stretched at its center, wide and still. Its surface rippled with whispers, clear as memory. Faces shimmered across the water, fleeting and fragile. Mortals who prayed, kings who defied, children who feared thunder. Their voices rose together, a chorus of echoes. Each echo carried the weight of Zeus's choices. He saw storms called, judgments passed, silences left unbroken. The river held no anger, only truth. Then, familiar faces appeared within the flow. Hera, fierce yet weary. Athena, wise and strong. Hermes, swift in loyalty. Hades, distant but bound. Their names whispered, reminders of every bond he bore. Zeus knelt by the water. "Why show me this?" His reflection aged, burdened with regrets unspoken. A soft voice answered, "A king is not only storm, but echo. The world remembers not just power, but what lingers after." Zeus touched the river, ripples spreading like lightning. Visions surged, mortals daring, cities rising, gods fading. Power fades, thrones crumble, but echoes endure. "This river is memory," Zeus said. The current shimmered, memory and legacy. Zeus rose, his reflection scattering into ripples. The labyrinth tested not strength, but the storm within. A bridge of stone appeared, glowing from the echoes. He stepped across, whispers rising beneath each stride. They did not accuse. They did not praise. They remembered. On the far bank, the river stilled into silence. Zeus looked back once more. "Let storms guide, not just frighten." Silence answered, but peace lay within it. The path ahead glowed faintly, waiting for him. He carried not only thunder now, but the echoes of all. The path narrowed, walls closing in like a vessel. No sound, no whisper of wind, no echo of steps. Even his breath was swallowed by the silence. For the first time, there was nothing. No rivers, no visions, only emptiness. Zeus pressed on, but the stillness grew heavier. It clung to him, pressing on his shoulders. He felt time not as thunder, but as silence. Suddenly, the corridor vanished into darkness, a vast chamber, endless, formless, without light. He could not tell if he moved or stood still. This was not a place to cross. It was a place to endure. A voice rose from within. Can a storm be still? Zeus gripped his unseen power, ready to strike. But every roar, every bolt, dissolved into silence. The void swallowed thunder before it could form. He closed his eyes. The storm within demanded release, but the labyrinth whispered, this was not for action. This was a place to listen. So Zeus waited. Moments stretched into hours, hours into eternity. The silence pressed doubt into his chest. Am I king without thunder? God without power? No answer came, only silence. Yet within silence, something stirred. A rhythm faint as a dream, his own heartbeat. He focused. Slowly, the storm softened. Memories rose small, fragile, overlooked. A farmer thanking rain. A mother sheltering her child. A mortal gazing upward, not in fear, but awe. Power was not only in thunder's strike, it was in the pause that allowed life to grow. The voice returned, gentler now. Stillness is not emptiness. It is space for all to exist. Zeus opened his eyes. The dark no longer weighed on him. He breathed, steady, calm, grounded. In stillness, he found clarity. The chamber shifted. Pale light revealed an archway. It had always been there, waiting for him to see. Zeus stepped forward, carrying both storm and silence. The labyrinth, recognizing his truth, released him once more. Zeus entered a corridor that widened with each step. The walls shimmered faintly, like glass kissed by starlight. Above him, the ceiling dissolved into an endless sky. Constellations shifted, alive, painting images across the heavens. He saw himself as a child, hidden from Cronus's hunger. He saw himself rising to Olympus, crowned in thunder. Battles fought, storms unleashed, victories claimed. Then the stars shifted again, showing moments of quiet. Hera turning away in sorrow. Prometheus chained for the gift of fire. Mortals trembling beneath storms they could not understand. The constellations broke apart, forming new shapes. Zeus saw Olympus empty, its thrones abandoned. He saw the sky dimming as belief faded. His heart stirred with unease. Is this fate? He asked aloud. A voice drifted from the stars. Not fate, reflection. Before him appeared a vast mirror of silver fire. It reflected not only his form, but the constellations above. Zeus stepped closer, breath catching in his chest. His reflection changed no longer God, but man. Weary, lined, storms hidden in his eyes. What is this? He whispered. The mirror rippled like water. It is what the sky sees, the voice replied. It is the legacy your reign has written upon the heavens. Zeus reached out, trembling hand touching the surface. The reflection shifted again, showing him among mortals. Walking beside them, not ruling above. This is no throne, Zeus murmured. No, said the voice. The sky holds echoes, not thrones. A king's rule fades. The sky remembers only his light. Zeus closed his eyes, letting the words sink in. The labyrinth had shown storms, threads, echoes, silence. Now it showed the sky itself. It reminded him his place was not eternal command. It was lasting meaning. He opened his eyes, and the mirror changed. Mortals looked upward, guided by stars. They no longer feared thunder. They saw it as a promise. Zeus smiled, not in triumph, but in understanding. If the sky is my mirror, let thunder be a guide. The constellations pulsed with light in reply. The mirror dissolved into streams of silver fire. They rose upward, rejoining the heavens. The stars formed a blazing new constellation. It shone as a lightning bolt, soft and steady. Zeus gazed upward, peace glowing in his storm. The corridor ahead opened, Once more, its path was lit by the constellation's glow. He stepped forward, carrying storm, echo, silence, and sky. Power fades, but meaning shines forever. Zeus entered the final passage, his steps steady. The walls glowed faintly, patterns breathing like embers. He felt it before he saw it, the center of the labyrinth. A vast chamber opened, wider than Olympus, deeper than the sea. At its core pulsed a light, eternal, older than fire. The light flickered like a heartbeat, slow and steady. Zeus approached, his breath drawn into its rhythm. This was no trick. It was the labyrinth itself. The voice returned, softer now, like memory. "You have walked storms and echoes," it said. "You have listened to silence and looked upon the sky. Now you stand where all threads converge." Zeus gazed into the pulsing light. Within it, countless threads shimmered, silver and alive. Some strong, some fragile, some nearly frayed. Together they wove a tapestry that never ceased to move. He saw gods and mortals reflected in those threads. The rise and fall of kingdoms, the laughter of children, the sorrow of loss, the choices that shaped paths. Zeus realized even thunder was but a single thread. "Is this destiny?" he asked. "Not destiny," the voice replied. "Possibility. Each thread is choice. Each knot is turning. Each strand is life meeting life." Zeus reached out, hand trembling above the light. The threads vibrated, brushing his skin like whispers. He felt every story, every hope, every fear. He felt the fragility of a single mortal life. He felt the weight of carrying many as a god. And in that instant, he saw both as one. "You are not here to command the threads," said the voice. "You are here to carry their truth." Zeus closed his eyes, bathed in light. He remembered the mirrors, the echoes, the sky. He remembered silence and the storm learning to rest. Power without meaning fades like thunder in empty sky. The heartbeat of the labyrinth quickened, recognizing his surrender. The walls shifted, alive, no longer a prison. The labyrinth had been his teacher all along. The light grew brighter, filling the chamber. Walls and floor dissolved into endless threads, silver strands weaving all that was and would be. "What am I to do with this?" Zeus whispered. "Remember, carry, choose," the voice replied. "You are not master of fate, but its witness." Calm settled in Zeus's chest like never before. He understood he did not need to escape. To walk the labyrinth was enough. The chamber dimmed, heartbeat steady again. The light softened into a radiant doorway. Zeus looked once more at the endless weave. Then, with steady breath, he stepped through. The labyrinth faded behind him. The storm above Olympus stirred in song, not fury. For Zeus had found truth, not victory. The heart of fate was not power. It was the choices that gave it meaning.